Okay, so if you go way back to the 17th century, Samuel Hahnemann was a medical doctor, and he was tired of all this cutting out the problem or burning it out or poisoning it, and so he decided that he would start working more in the background, and he was converting books of medical books from one language to another. He spoke 7 languages. You'll notice tonight I'm still working on English, so but he was very fluent in 7 languages. He could write and read in those languages, and he could speak it. And through his research and looking back over history, he saw that it was quoted in history by many physicists that a like cures a like. So what causes the problem can also be the solution. And so he started, in his books, he started seeing other references to the same physics law. Hi there, how are you? Come on up. And so he actually started playing around with his own research on a like cures a like. So he may go up to a friend and he would rub poison ivy leaves, let's say, on your arm, okay? And I know, but you know, he asked you to volunteer, and then he would watch, and I noticed that little vesicles popped up on her arm, and then they started oozing and itching, and you went through a several week cycle of this stuff, and it could spread a little bit, very, you know, annoying. But what he could also do then is take that poison ivy oil, he could dilute it down into a what we call a homeopathic solution, and give that to that same person, and it would take away all those symptoms. So a like cures a like. And that's how all this started. So over a period of his lifetime and for a couple hundred years afterwards, everything that was done back then was done like a clinical study. So he would take 50 well people and then 50 sick people, and he would do some with a placebo and some with you know, the real antidote. And he tried item after item after item, and so they compiled all these into books and all the results from all the tests, and they were the first clinical studies ever done for medicines, even before we had what we call allopathic medicines today. These are the first ones that were ever done. And so because they were the first clinical tests, all clinical trials since then, even with drugs today, had to follow the same rules that Samuel Hahnemann set down in the 17th century. So that means that even though you can come to a health food store where we have all these wonderful natural remedies, and I have to tell you, Tooney's has the biggest and best inventory of any store I've ever been to in the country or in the world. This guy has got it all out here. But whenever you look at a homeopathic remedy that's out there, it is actually a registered pharmaceutical drug. Isn't that amazing? We actually have a little number on the, and any homeopathic has a little number in the upper right-hand corner of it, and that's a drug identification number. And so these are registered with the FDA, and because of that, and because of all those clinical studies, we can make claims. We're the only natural product that's allowed to make claims. And so if you were to look at an herbal product or some kind of dietary supplement product, the FDA right now is taking away all their rights to put anything on that label that indicates they're for any kind of condition. They can't even hint that they're for a condition anymore. All the labels are changing to where it's making it more and more difficult for them to actually say anything except for milligrams or content, and that's it. But yet, if I read from one of our statements of what we're allowed to say about a product, you're going to be absolutely shocked. And I'll just read you one here, and it says, strengthens the immune system, reduces wrinkles, heightens sexual potency, increases energy and vitality, enhances sleep quality and breathing, relieves depression, mood swings, anger and apathy, alleviates bleeding gums, phlegm buildup, coughing, sharpens the memory, increases lean body mass, decreases excess body fat, improves weight loss, vision, physical strength, and promotes healing. Those are claims that we can legally put on a product and put it out there on the shelf. The FDA has actually read this and approved this. It blows your mind, doesn't it? I know none of you would want to have this product because it's just too good to be true, right? So we won't go there. Yeah. Huh?
It's a drug.
It's a drug. Why would you want it? But according to history And according to every country in the homeopathy, I have to tell you, if you looked at the whole globe, the world, even we're all getting more closer together with the internet and Facebook and all, I don't even know, all these Twitter things and all that kind of stuff. We're actually very close. If you looked at the world, homeopathy is the #2 prescribed medicine in the world. And every country in the world regulates it like a drug, and yet it is totally safe, never has caused an overdose, never has caused any side effect ever, and we're still waiting for one, but it hasn't happened yet. It never interacts with any other drug, contraindicates it in any way, so you can be on other drugs and take a homeopathic and be perfectly safe. Can be given to an infant, a child, a pregnant woman, someone who's nursing, an elderly person, and all you can do is get good out of it. How many drugs on the TV set nowadays go into their claims that says no side effects, no overdosing, no contraindications? You see a lot of that, right? So now you understand that there's actually something out there that is so widely used and has so much medical backup for it, and yet it's totally natural. And we'll tell you how we make it in a minute. But wouldn't that be cool to have all that?
Yes.
So imagine you figure, since #2 remedy in the world is homeopathy, what do you think the #1 remedy is? Pharmaceuticals? Guess what? They're #4. They didn't even make the big 3. Why do you think they're pissed off all the time? If you're not in the big 3, you're always trying to do bad things out there. You're always trying to undermine everybody else. Okay? #1 is Chinese medicine. That's herbs and acupuncture. Pretty cool. We got knocked out of the #1 slot as homeopathy because they had a population explosion. They kind of pushed us out, but it's okay. I don't mind being with them. #3 is your conventional herbs, you know, chamomile and St. John's wort, those kind of things. They're more common herbs. So that's #3, and then 4 is allopathic. So it kind of shows you the world order. In the United States, we're upside down. You know, completely. I mean, money is and greed in this country is a little different than it is in other parts of the world, where you go to a doctor and they actually give you a natural substance for your problem. Okay? So, from the standpoint of what we're doing here, you know, we're supposed to talk about weight loss tonight, which we're going to talk a lot about, but a lot of things in our life that causes aging, like we talked about here, or weight gain, or imbalances, are because of our environment and our emotional stabilities and what have you. And so in homeopathy, we can actually address all those different issues all at one time. And in homeopathy, we're dealing with energy. So I'll tell you how we kind of make homeopathy, and it gives you an idea. One of the products that's used in weight loss today is human chorionic gonadotropin. Okay? You heard of 8-CG? Anybody ever heard of that? Okay. Okay. So, does anybody know what 8-CG really is? Okay, it's a hormone.
Pregnant
women. Okay. We have to kill a lot of pregnant women to get it. That was in the old days. Now we have them, we take it from their urine. Anybody pregnant here? I always like to ask for samples. I take it from the lab. Nobody? Well, boss is going to be disappointed. Usually I come back with a couple of gallons. But once we get that urine, we actually can extract that hormone from that urine and clean it all up. So once it's put into a homeopathic form, let me get this one going. You don't smell pee anymore, okay? That's pretty much gone. Actually, my grandson actually peed in my mouth one time I was chewing. It does taste, no, it doesn't taste like pee, I'm sorry. So, 8-CG actually works like an enzyme. And when women are pregnant, they have this, they build more of this up, because if you're in a starvation situation, you always are going to feed that baby. And so it converts the body's energy, so you always keep the baby safe and give it enough nutrition. But a like cures a like, so when we're using it for weight loss, it actually will attack fat in the body. It will break down fat even in an area that is hard to get to and won't exercise off. Pretty cool stuff. You've heard about a 500-calorie diet. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
That's insane. Okay? I don't think anybody should be on a 500-calorie diet. It throws your whole metabolism off. You could lose your hair and your muscle mass. you could cause some damage to the body. And I think it's a great come on to get people to think, oh my gosh, but if I went on 500 calories, I could lose weight. Sure, I wouldn't even have to take HCG. When we talk about HCG, you know, you can do it as an injectable, and I go to a lot of medical shows, you know, and the injections can be put into areas like under an arm or a buttocks or whatever. They're trying to put it into that fat that they want to break down. I don't know how much an injectable costs, but I know they aren't cheap. How much?
My friend's going Saturday. She said it's $150 for one shot.
For one shot, and she'll have to go through a series of them. So you better have your credit card or your checkbook with you when you go in to see the doctor, and he's going to probably put you on several of them. Okay? We can actually take that injectable and make it into a homeopathic. And homeopathic is energy. So I'm going to kind of explain what we do. Like, let's say that poison ivy. We can take a drop of that poison ivy oil. We can put it in 9 drops of water. And we can succuss it or shake it up violently like this. And we do that 100 times. And now we have made the first part of a dilution for, and it could be HCG we're doing that too. We take 1 drop of that diluted substance, that 1 and 9, and we put it in 9 more parts of water. Do it again. Now we would have what we call a 2X. If you ever notice on a homeopathic bottle they have C's and X's and L's and M's, those are Roman numerals. And they're you know, a numbering system we used back, you know, in Roman days. But we're the #2 remedy in the world. We've got to use something that's universal. And we also use, everything is in Latin terms because, again, what if it's sold in another country with a different language? The Latin language is a dead language. It never changes. So it's a botanical name or it's the Latin given name, so we never have any mistakes. And in medical use, they usually go with Latin, so there's no mistakes. They know exactly what they're talking about. So now if we've diluted it twice, we can take another drop of it and put it in 9 more parts of water. We dilute it a 3rd time. And we keep diluting it until it gets to a 30x. 30 times. Does anybody study quantum physics in college? Anybody take rocket science or anything like that? No? I can make up whatever I want. Okay, so Avogadro, the famous mathematician, says that when you dilute something down like that, when you get to a 24x, that's doing that same thing 24 times, it is actually not there anymore. Completely gone. It's gone to infinity. But guess what? In homeopathy, the more we dilute something, the more it's not there, the stronger it becomes. Wow, that's quantum physics. So let me kind of explain here. So as that poison ivy is going away, how's your arm doing, by the way, after we've done it? Still all right? Okay, good. As we're taking away that whole substance, as it's being diluted, we are creating energy. We are creating the memory and the energy of that original substance, and as we dilute and dilute and dilute, it becomes a bigger and bigger energetic substance. And that's what they're talking about. And there's been many people who've tried to disprove homeopathy and said there's nothing there. And every time they've tried to disprove it, they've had to use lies and treachery and whatever, and science has always come right back and proved it over and over and over again in the lab. And that's why countries register it as a drug, because it's a proven medicine. Nobody's been able to shoot it down yet. The drug companies have tried. They really don't like us out there, because it works within seconds, minutes, hours. They don't like a quick fix. And the other thing they don't like about it is we can use a 4-letter word. There's quite a few ladies in the room, but we're going to say it anyway, and it's called cure. If you can cure something, it hurts the medical community. They're allopathic. You've got to stay on a drug the rest of your life. They like to have you on them from birth to death. And they're going to do that someday probably in this country. That's their whole goal. They can control you from day one. Homeopathy can actually cure the situation. Now, some things may be reoccurring because of our environment. Look at how it's changed since 1700s. Look at the amount of stress we have. Look at the amount of processed foods.